Hello everyone. I'm Phil, the Clik Training Manager at Clik. Welcome to this free live webinar on equipment action list. I hope everyone is well and has a nice cup of tea. This webinar shouldn't last more than 45 minutes. But before we begin, we're just going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So you should see a slide if people are having problems with audio. They should be able to check their audio settings. I'm just going to leave the screen on here for half a minute or so people can check their audio settings. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through equipment action list. That's the main theme for this webinar today. So I'm just going to make sure everyone's got a good read of that slide, and we're just going to move on to the next one. So questions. You can put your questions in the webinar controls that you will find in your control panel. But at the end, we'll only go through maybe 2 or 3 because there's a number of people on this webinar today. It's quite a lot, but we will answer all of them and we will publish them on our website. Okay, right, so let's begin. The agenda today is we're going to go through what are equipment action lists. What are they? Then we're going to go through creating equipment action lists. And then we're going to go through applying equipment action lists to jobs. And then we're going to see how you can use equipment action lists in Clik Jobs and Clik Remote. And then we're going to just show you how you can print equipment action lists as well, and how you can create equipment action list notifications. Okay, so that's going to go through kind of like if someone ticks something on a particular action list, someone can get notified about that particular action. Right, let's begin. So, what are equipment action lists? So equipment action lists allow you to record specific actions related to the equipment you service. So for example, you have a job, you might have an asset or equipment on there, and you want to put a particular action list on that equipment or asset. You can audit those actions your engineers have performed on a specific piece of equipment, and you can see when they've completed those equipment action lists as well. You can track specific actions that are taken by your engineers by setting up custom notifications for those actions. Okay, so that's what equipment action lists are, and they can apply to all your assets if you need to. Right, so we're going to start beginning with creating equipment action list now. So I'm just going to bring up Clik, so just bear with me 1 second whilst I sort that. Okay, you should all see Clik Service now. And we're just going to start off by going into settings, which is where you start creating your equipment action lists, and settings again. And what we're going to see in settings is we're going to see action list in here. Now in action list, I'm going to see lots of action lists I've already got that are already equipment action lists as well, but we're going to create a little quick one, just a tiny one, just to show you how you can create them and how you can use them. So this is the place where you also create normal action lists as well. So if you've done that before, you'll be familiar with this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on a new action list, which is at the top here. And at the bottom, I'm just going to put a short code. So I'm going to call this gas, INS. And then description, I'm going to put in boiler install. Check. Okay, so that's giving my name for my equipment action list. The next thing you'll notice, you will notice compulsory. If you've got Clik Remote Engineer, you can make these compulsory, which means that they have to do this equipment action list before they can unlock the job and edit actual work done, for example, or add their time items. They won't be able to do any of that unless they do that action list. So that's what compulsory action lists are. In this case, I'm not going to tick that. But what I am going to do is I am going to go into available in modules, and this is a very important step, one that I often forget myself. But you'll see here equipment, and you'll see include in group, and then we just want to tick that. You'll also see another particular tick box, which could be useful, is always show. This just means that this action list will just apply to every asset that you've got in your database, okay? But in this case, I don't want to do that, so I want to show you some other things. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to click on OK. The next thing on the right-hand side is where we build the action list. And there's a couple of different ways of doing this, and we're going to go through them. So I can add a route item. So that could be a standard item. So a standard item is just like a tick box, really. So like you untick it or ticked. So simple tick or untick. But then we've also got add new questions, which often a bit more variety. So you can have maybe 3 or 4 answers to it, and those answers could then drill down to another question, and those questions could have other answers as well. We're going to do add new question. And the first one I'm going to actually put in is I'm going to put in check the condition of the installation area, for example. Oh, checked. Hang on. Checked the installation. We'll check the condition. There we go. Checked the condition. I can spell the installation area. Okay, so that's what I've got there. Now the next thing I need to do is populate some answers. So if I right click on here, I have a couple of things that I can do. I can add an answer. I can also add a question as well. But I'm going to add an answer, and I can add a user value answer as well, which is quite new to Action. This is something we've put in, but basically you can put free text, date, time, and number. And I'm going to go through an example of that in my next question. But in this case, I'm just going to do add answer, and I'm going to put in yes, and then I'm going to add another answer. So I'm going to right click on my question again and go add answer and put in no. And then I'm going to right click on my question again, and I'm going to click on add answer. And I might actually put in advice. So I've got 3 answers in there. Now, if I wanted to, I could click on the answer here, right click on no, and I could answer another question based on that. So for example, why is the installation area not good? And then you could put in some user text or something like that as an answer as well. Well, that's something you could do if you wanted to, so it could branch out. But what we're going to do actually is we're going to just create another question. So I'm going to go to add route item and go add new question again. But this time I'm going to put in something like install date. But actually my answer for this is just going to be a user value field, and it's going to be free text. So I can click on free text. I can do that, or actually I don't want free text. I want date and time. So date and time will be that user value in there. So that's how you can build your action list. We'll just go to a few others just to see sort of completed ones that have got more kind of questions and answers, so you get an idea. So if we go to example, this one, boiler and heating check, it's got all of these questions in there with answers. You can see that quite yes, no, or advice in there. If we go to somewhere like one for people that need air conditioning, condenser details, you can see here they've got some questions and some answers that they put in free text. And they've got things like leak tested, yes or no. And these are all equipment action lists that I've put in before. Okay, so that's kind of how you create your equipment action list. Okay, so the next bit that we're going to look at is we're actually going to look at how we apply those action lists to equipment and to the job templates and to a single job. And we're going to show you how to do that. So let's do that now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to A1 Design Services. So that's my customer I'm going to use, and I'm going to go to Sites. And for you who are not familiar, this is where you can actually create your assets as well, your equipment, if you want to. So in here, I've got my Bristol site, I've got my equipment, and I've got multiple equipment in here at the moment, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I am going to create just a quick bit of equipment to show you from scratch how to create equipment and then apply the action list if you want to go that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on equipment and I'm going to click on new, which is just here. So when I click on new, I get the details of equipment. Now what I can do, because I'm filling in the same information before, is I can go from add from, and I can go add from my equipment library, and I can actually select a previous one that I've done before. and click on OK. So that's going to fill in some details. I'll just change the serial number so it's a bit different. And I'll change the reference number as well. Might put in a plant location, which could be a location of where that boiler is, or where that asset is, or where that equipment is. But what I'm also going to do is I'm now going to go over to action list templates. So I know that with this asset, every time maybe I do a service on it, I want it to always apply a particular action list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to action list templates. I'm going to click on add action list. And I'm going to go boiler and heating check. And I'm going to click on OK. But one important thing is that I say, okay, well, that's an action. So you've got two options here now. That's an action list that I can select anytime I put that equipment on a job. Okay. But you might say, well, actually, no, I pretty much am always going to auto apply this action list every time I do something with this asset. So you don't need to do the second step when you create a job, because it will always be in there and created for you. However, if you want a bit more manual or flexibility, you can untick that and just select that type of action list when you require. So that's one way of doing it. So we're going to just do auto apply. What you'll also see, the next tab is action list history. So you'll see all the history of when those action lists were completed for that asset. And that will tell you the job start date, the job number, the short code of the action list, the user, the date it was modified, and when the job was complete. So you get an idea. So if someone's modified it, you can easily see that someone's modified it at the end of the start date or the complete date, and then you might bring that up, for example. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to go into save and close, and that is in there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is create a job with that particular boiler. So I can do this a number of different ways. Whatever way you like to create jobs, you can do it that way, but we're going to do it this way because we're in sites at the moment. I've got create job, and I've got new job, and I've got new job sheet with selected site and equipment. So if I do that, that's going to populate in here. And if I go to my equipment tab, and I'm going to go to equipment action lists, I'm now going to see that there because I said auto apply. Okay, so that is why that is appearing in here. That action list is ready to go. So that's one way of your kind of action list being applied to job sheets. But another way is also via what we call job templates. So you'll notice in here, create job, you'll notice there's another option called new job from template. Now, a new job from template means that I could put action lists that are already on the template, and it will just apply those action lists rather than maybe whatever's else on the equipment, and it can override what's on the equipment. So a good idea for this could be actually if you are potentially doing a job that's a new install and you haven't got the details of that asset yet, and you're expecting your engineers to fill those in. So essentially what you would do is you'd create it from the job template, and you know that if they create a new boiler, for example, then the action list will be applied from that template. So this is a good way of doing that. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to click on new job template. Now what it's going to do is going to give me my templates, but I actually want to create a new one. So I'm going to create a new one called boiler install and apply that little action list that we did earlier. So I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to go boiler install. Put a category in, but I'm also going to go into where I've got default equipment action lists in here, and I'm going to add that action list. So I'm going to click add action list, and I'm going to find my boiler install check. Perfect. So what that means is I can create a job sheet now with boiler install. So I'm going to create job, and I'll do A1 design services, but this time I'm not going to select any equipment, but I know that this is in here ready to go if a new asset is created for this install, for example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign that now to one of my engineers who's on Clik Remote engineer for this one. So I click on add. Don't worry about this too much. I'm just assigning my engineer to it. and then click save. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into job number 20 in Clik Remote Engineer, just to see how it looks for the engineer in terms of filling in this equipment action list. Okay, so we're going to close that down. And I'm going to open up Clik Remote Engineer. Just bear with me 1 second whilst I get that sorted. Okay, you should now all see, oh, just got to log in again. Okay, so I'm logging in into Jim Bob, my engineer, and I can see here at the end he's got boiler install. So number 20 here, boiler install. So I'm going to click on that. And I can see at the moment I've got to do that install. Now I've installed it, but I'm going to put the details of this asset now. So I'm going to click on add, and I'm going to go to equipment, and I'm going to go to new equipment, and I'm going to start typing in the details of that boiler. So I guess boiler Worcester. Green light. And we'll just put some details in. Plant location, let's say office 6. Okay, so and a reference as well. So I'm going to put the details of that boiler in there. I'm going to add new. As soon as I do that, what you'll notice is it's now open 2 other tabs here, equipment and equipment action list. So what I can do is I can go to equipment action list, and I can now see the boiler install checks done because I did it from a job template. And that template is saved. You can use it again, and it's always going to apply a equipment action list if a new piece of equipment is added to that job. So now we're going to go and do this action list so you can see how it works. So we're going to click on view, and it's going to say check the condition of the installation area. Perfect. I'm just going to say yes, that's fine. What I can also do, so everyone's aware, you can also create comments as well. So you can put in a comment in there if you want to, or good, for example. And then next I can see my install date. Now it's defaulted to the date and time that I want, and I can save that user value. That's very important to do to finish this action list. You have to save the value. If you want to change the date, you can click on there, change the date. And you can also change the time by just clicking on select time on here and changing the time if you needed to change that, if it was a date field that you required. So that's how that works. But again, just click save user value, and then that's done. That's saved. And we click on close. Now what we'll see here is we'll see that the status is done. So you'll know that you've done that action list for that particular asset. And you can also, which is quite useful, is click on hide complete as well. So you can click on hide complete, and then any order completed action lists will disappear from that list, so you don't see them. And only the ones that you haven't will apply. Okay, so once you're happy with that, that's all done. That equipment action list is done. You can go ahead and you can fill in the rest of the job. So that is one way of doing it for kind of like using the job template structure. Now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go and show you how to do it if you've got multiple action lists on that multiple equipment, and then you're going to have multiple action lists to do as well. So we're going to go into my CRM. We're going to go into the Bristol site, and I'm actually going to create a job sheet for all of these assets in here. So if we create Bristol site and we do these, and I go create job, and I go new job with selected site and equipment, I've now created 3 assets, and I've got 2 equipment action lists. That means that one of mine hasn't got an action list on it. However, what I could do is I could go add action list, find it in here, go to boiler heat and check, go to my equipment, and I can click on add, and I can select that one that's missing, so I can see it's ref 9789, and I can apply it at that stage as well. It's because on that one I didn't have an automatic action list to auto apply on it. So that might be one of the common things you might see. You go, oh, hang on a minute, I've got 3 equipment, but not got the right action list, it's probably because you haven't auto applied it on there. So for example, if we go to that one, 789, you'll see action list template, there's nothing in there, it's not auto applying. But to fix it, I went into default equipment action list, overrid it, put that in, and then clicked on equipment action list and then added it in. Okay, so that's how I could add equipment action list to that job that may be missing. Right, so I've now got 3 action lists to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that back to Jim Bob as well. And we're going to go back to the Clik Remote Engineer and go to Jobs. So you should see that. Go on to number 21. And now you're going to see equipment action list. So we go into equipment action list. I've now got 3 action lists to do on 3 different types of equipment. Okay, so I can go through these and I can start filling them in. So if I click on the view, I can go save. Yep. And I can go through all the tick boxes that I need to go through, all the answers, and you can see it's going to populate that answer and the next question as you start filling it in. So I've completed that one, I click on close. So that one is now done. I can then hide complete and I can see I've got 2 left to do. Okay, so if I keep that ticked, I can just go through the next one and finish them. So I'm going to quickly finish these. And I'm going to click close and you can see I've got 1 left. Okay, so close that and you can see I've got no action list left because they've all been completed, which is fantastic for job 21. Okay, so that is kind of like how you get action list onto jobs and how you use it in Clik Remote Engineer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how that works with Clik Jobs as well. It's the same principle of assigning the engineer. The only thing is we're going to start filling it in Clik Jobs so you can see how that works as well. Right, so just let me pause the screen and bring that up. Okay. Okay, you should see in a minute. Bear with me. You should see the app in here. Okay, I'm just going to put maybe Clik Service in the background. There we go. Okay, so this is Clik Jobs. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on the job where I've already applied equipment action list to, and we're going to fill that in Clik Jobs so you can see how that's done. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on boiler and heating service. And it's going to populate in here. Now in the 3 dots in the top right hand side, if I click on there, you'll notice I've got equipment, 2 pieces of equipment, and I've also got equipment action lists, 2 equipment action lists in here. So you can see that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click on 2 equipment action lists, and we're going to see the 2 equipment action lists that we need to do. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on that action list, and we're just going to say appliance safety, and we're just going to click these things. Now, one thing to note, when you're on Clik Jobs, if you need to add comments onto that particular action that you're ticking, you just basically hold down the action, you can add a comment in here, okay? We're going to go to the next one, and we're just going to fill these in quickly. As you can see in Clik Jobs, it's just me tapping onto my phone and just filling in that action list. And once I'm happy with that, I just click on save. And that's going to tell me, you can see the blue bar telling me that it's complete. So it says action list complete. Here you can, I'll show you how you might be able to filter in a minute, but essentially we're going to go to the second one, but we can see that it's complete. I'm just going to fill in those details. That's done, and we're going to click on save in the top right hand side. That's saved. So those two are complete. You'll be able to, if you've got so many bits of equipment here, you can use your search box to try and search for any of the fields that you see here. So for example, if it's a particular equipment that you're trying to do, you can type in 898, for example, and it will just find anything with 898 if that's the serial number you're looking for. So it's quite useful with a little search tool. And actually, if I think about it, you might even be able to do that as well, complete, and it will disappear because there's nothing complete. But yeah, that's something to just look into, is using your search to really find the asset that you want to do that equipment action list for. Okay, so we go back again. It's the same method if the engineer is doing an install, for example, and you've used that job template to say always apply this particular action list. If you're doing an install to the asset that's added, that can be done as well. It's just a case of clicking on the three dots on here, and then you're just adding another piece of equipment down here, and that will apply the action list that you had on that job template. Okay, so with that job, I'm just going to finish that job off, and I'm going to just upload it. Okay, so that's Clik Jobs. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to go back. I'm just going to bring those in, and we're going to go through some of the printing options as well. And so you can have a look at that. So if we click on, oh, actually, no, what should we do? Notifications or printing, I think. What did I say we'd do? We said we'd do printing, yeah, printing. So we're going to print this up. So I'm going to bring those jobs back. I'm going to go to jobs, I'm going to go to Q Jobs, sync with cloud. So I'll just bring that one back with the action list complete so you can see that. Q selected, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just show you kind of like how do these equipment action lists print out. Now, we do offer a service, a template service. So if you do have your kind of own forms, you can speak to your account manager and we'll be able to quote you if you wanted us to do them. But I'm just going to show you that we do have a default one already in there, and I'm going to show you how that looks, and you can little modifications maybe to that one, you might be okay with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into one of these job sheets that we've done some work on. So for example, let's go to this one, number 18. So if we go into action equipment and we go into equipment action list, we'll see the completed action list that our engineer has done. You can see the comments that's put in. So that was from the Simon Ferry job. Send that back and he's filled in that action list. Now, it could be a case that I want to send this as a PDF to the customer with the job sheet details on it. So you can do that. You can click on tools, you can click on email, and then you'll see job as PDF, and then you can select the one that you want. In this case, it's going to be the boiler and heating checks, and I'm just going to click on OK. And you can see here, if I open up this PDF, that's got the details in there. And if I go to page 2, it's got all my checks that I've done. So you can see your boiler and heating checks for the 2 assets that I've checked. So this is kind of what it looks like. So it will give you the description of the boiler in here, and it will give you all the answers that you've done and all your comments that you've put in. So this one is pre-built into Clik. So this template you can use straight away if you need to. And you can see here we've got the second asset as well. Like I said, these can be modified a little bit, and also if you've got your own, you can speak to your account manager and we can quote you and say how much it will cost you for us to do them. Okay, so that is how you can print and how you can send as an email as well as a PDF. If you just want to print it and you want to just check it, you can just click on print and then select your template. So in this case, I'll go with boiler and heating checks and click on OK. And then we can go to step 2 and we can see our boiler and heating checks. Right, okay, just for those people that might be in the aircon world, I do have something that I can show you. Got an air conditioning report, just to show you what I mean. So this particular one had a asset on it, which had an equipment action list, had 3 equipment action lists actually. And we're going to click on print, and we're going to click on air conditioning commissioning report, just to show you kind of like this is the design that we've done before, where it just gives you the systems on the job. Might have various details in here, which could be user fields, but if we go to page 2, you can see the details in there. So that's just giving you some of the details, the refrigerant details, electrical details, and condenser details. So those are the sort of things that you can think about. You can have multiple action lists, maybe on one page for one asset, or you can have lots of assets and multiple action lists as well. Okay, so those are kind of the sort of things that we can do. Right. Now we're going to do notifications about how they work with equipment action list as well. So this could be important. You might have something really important that someone needs to be notified about if an engineer ticks a particular answer to a question. So for example, if we go into one of our jobs, let's go and do this one, and we go into equipment and we go into equipment action list. If, for example, one of these answers were no, it may be that you need someone to get notified. Someone needs to get notified. So we're going to just do no on here, for example. I've just changed it, save that. So that could be that we want an internal notification sent. So something like this. So this has just popped up now. No has been selected for question appliance flue and ventilation safe on job number 18 and equipment ref 78719 at location the tobacco factory. So, it's giving me information that, I might check into that to see why the answer no was selected on that particular question. This could also be emails as well, so it doesn't need to be just internal notifications. It can be emails if you want it to be. So I'm going to show you how to create that. So we're going to click on close. And we're going to go into settings in the top left-hand side, and we're going to click on settings again. And we're going to go down into communication, and we're going to click on new notifications. So in new notifications, I've already got 2 here, boiler check, boiler check. I'm going to just create another one just to show you how it's done. So we're going to click on the add button, which is on here. And I need to do it by action list. So I know that that's the module that I need this notification to work from. And I'm just going to put boiler check 2 because we've already got quite a few of them. Boiler check 2, and we're going to click on next. Now what I need to do is I need to select the action list that I want this notification to come from. So in this case, I'm going to go to my boiler and heating check in here. And I'm literally just going to click on next. And the first thing it's going to do is I'm just going to get, this is all grayed out. And this is all grayed out because it could be that you just want a notification if the whole action list is completed. So you want a notification if the whole action list is completed, which is fine. You can do that. So trigger notification when whole action list is completed. So you can do that. But we want to do something a bit different. I want to go on our drop down. You'll see selected answer has changed as well. So what that means is just that someone's changed an action on an action list. This could be good for being notified that someone's maybe messed around with one of the action lists when they've come back from the engineer, and you want to be notified which user's done that and why they've done that. That could potentially be a thing. And then you've also got specific answer selected. So specific answer selected is what I'm going to use. And we're going to click on that. And we're going to say, okay, right, okay, if we go down here and it says electronic carbon monoxide alarm manually operated, we're going to say no or advice. We can say no. You might want to say you need to look into that because they've put that question as no. Or combustion emissions tested and confirmed as correct. So you could maybe select that one. It's up to you. You can select which. You can go back and you can do another one on the particular answer as well. But we're going to click on that. I'm going to click on that question, and I'm going to say, well, if the answer is no, I want a notification to be sent. What you can also do is you can also create conditions as well. So essentially what you can say is you can say, okay, Well, they only really want this for maybe one particular customer or something like that. So I click on the three dots and I can click on condition, which is in here, and I can say, okay, well, I'm going to go into job and I'm going to go into lookup fields. And I only want it to be a particular customer. So you can see what it's doing here is it's saying, well, these are the modules where you can make your condition. So we're going to click on job, I'm going to click on customer, and I'm going to click on OK, and I could say equals A1 Design Services. So if that no is answered from anyone else in another company, you won't get notified. It's only going to be specifically for A1 Design Services. So that's what conditions do. So that's just an example, but you can think of any conditions you like, and it's possible that we'll be able to do it. So we're going to click on OK on that. So just to confirm what we've got, we want to trigger the notification when a specific answer is selected. If the answer is no, on the combustion emissions tested and confirmed as correct, and the condition is met that it's an A1 Design Services job, then I want an internal or email notification to populate. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on next, and we're going to add the actions that we want. So we're going to click on add new action, and it could be an email, an internal message, or a Microsoft Teams message. I'm going to keep it internal, and we're going to click on configure. So what we need to do is we need to decide, well, who needs this message? Who needs this message that this particular answer has been selected as no on this equipment action list? So we're going to go to add recipient, and I'm going to click on individual, and I'm going to say the admin user, which is who I'm logged in as in Clik Service at the moment. But you'll notice you can go and click on anyone else you need to. Again, this is only internal. Okay, so now I need to just say the message. So what I can do is I can just say no was selected for question. I could type that in, or I could use tags. So I can click on insert tags, and I could go to text fields, and I could say, okay, new value. New value, which is the value, the yes or no, was selected for this equipment. And you can click on insert tags and you can find information about the equipment. So I can put description, make model, serial number if I wanted to, and that will all populate in there. And then I could say on job, and then I can put the job number in. So again, I'm using my insert tags. I'm clicking on insert tags, and I'm going to my job module. I'm clicking on the text fields, and I'm clicking job number full. Click on OK. So what I'm doing here is I'm sending an internal notification with this detail. You can also do other things as well. You might want to know which engineer sent it. So again, you could go by engineer, insert tag again, click on the job, and then you'll see newest engineer will do. And then you can go to engineer, text fields, and we can put in the full name. Okay, so that would add the engineer's details as well. So that's how you can configure your internal notification. Now it could be that actually I also want this to be sent as an email, maybe to the customer. So you could do that if you wanted to. You could click on add new action, and you could click on email, and you can click on configure. And so in here, when you click on configure, you can go and add recipient, who's going to receive this, and you can go to individual, or you could add a custom email, up to you. So you go to individual or a group, and then you'll see managers, and you'll see company contact as well. So if there's a company contact you want it to go to, you could do that essentially. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a custom email, and it's going to be sent to onboarding at clicksoftware.com. Add custom and close. What I could also do is I can say, well, when I get this sent, I kind of just want it to be also sent with the entire action list with the template. So that's the good thing about the email bit, is you can go, well, actually, I'm going to click on the template, and I'm also going to send them over the boiler and heating checks template. So that goes through over, but it's also going to tell them in this email, because the user specifically said no to that question, a message that's going to give that. So we're going to put that in as well. So again, we go to insert tags. I can go into text fields, I can get new value. Has been selected for the question. There you go. Please review job. If you can't spam, you got that as well. I'll do. And then you can go into insert tags. You can go into job, and I can go number fields, job number, and click on OK. So that's going to tell them that basically that's going to happen if that particular answer is selected. So I click on finish. I've now got that boiler check 2 with those 2 conditions, with a condition that has to be A1 design services and 2 actions, which will be an internal and an email being sent. Okay, so that's creating notifications, and we'll just see if we can get that to work. So if I close this and just go to one of my action lists, let's do this one, and go to equipment action list. I think it was this one, emissions tested. So I say no on that and click save. So this would happen on Clik Remote as well. So if someone put click no, it would do that. So you can see here, it's bringing my internal notification. No was selected for this equipment was the green light on job 18 by engineer Simon Ferry. Now I could have been a bit more descriptive about what the question was as well. So I could have typed that in my internal message if I wanted to. But that's just giving you an idea of how to use notifications for your equipment action lists. Okay, so I'm going to close that. I just want to go through one little last thing. So let's go into one of these boilers now. And if we go into action list history, you'll now see your action list history is telling you all the action lists that have been applied to this equipment and what's happened. And it's even telling you if that job's been complete or not been complete. Okay, so that is it for the equipment action list. Just bear with me one sec, just to go through a few questions. So I'll just get that sorted, bear with me. Okay. Right, okay, we've got some questions in. So one of the questions was basically I mentioned compulsory action lists, and I said it was on Clik Remote. And someone's asked, what about Clik Jobs? Well, unfortunately, it's not on Clik Jobs at the moment, so there aren't compulsory action lists that are available on there. I'll speak to the product manager after this and maybe see if that is something we can do, but at the moment, that's something we can't do currently. Okay, one of the other questions was about, well, okay, what are the different sort of print sort of things you can do with equipment action lists? So I'm going to sort of show you briefly what you can do and how you might sort of play around with the template editor briefly to sort of get what you want. So if we go into tools at the top, we'll see print template editor v3. So if we click on that, I'm going to show you the print template editor. So here's one that I was doing earlier. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into new document, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go and click on Clik Jobs. I just want to give you an example of kind of the different types of action lists and how they look and how they form. So we go to blank job. I can click on action lists at the top here. I'm just going to bring this into a page just to give you an idea. And you'll see we've got equipment action lists. So I click on equipment action list. I can say, okay, well, it's a boiler install check. I'm going to click select. This is now the different sort of layouts that you can have. So you can imagine how it might look. So for example, this one, you've got the equipment details at the top, you've got the action list, You've got the answer, how much is complete by, which is the one that we've normal one. You then got this one. This is a bit different. So you've got equipment all being sort of going down at the bottom, and then the action list items or the questions going along the top, and then the answers going into these fields in here. So that's another way of kind of the layouts that you can have. And then you've got this one, again, a bit different. So you've got the action list questions going down the bottom, and then across the top, you've got the equipment as well. And then you've got this, which is more fixed answers. So basically, all action list questions need the same answer, basically, for this to work. So it's just a different way of looking at it. So that's be the yes or no tick box, basically. If you're going to be doing a yes or no tick box, that's the one you would need. So these are the different layouts that you can have. So there are plenty of different layouts. Okay. What else have we got for questions? Okay, so just going to go through one more question. Yeah, so can an equipment action list have multiple action lists associated with it? Yes, you can apply more than one to a template or equipment. So sort of just do that now. So I'll just show you. Let's go into Clik Service. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so if we're in Clik Service, just going to put that on. There we go. So I'm just going into Clik Service now, just to show you how you can apply multiple action lists to equipment. So what I can do is I can go into this gas boiler. I could go into action list templates, and I'll just add another one. I click on add action lists, and I can say, well, actually, I also want the boiler installed with that one, and press OK. And I could just auto apply that if I want to. Okay. That's it for questions. What we're going to do is just go through briefly a little bit more of the presentation. So I think from now, just let us know what you think of that. We're going to answer all of your questions. The ones I didn't answer, we'll come back to them. We will put them on our website, and we might even directly speak to you as well. But if you need additional training, we do offer on-site and online training. We're flexible training options to suit your business, really. We work with your expert team to achieve your management goals. Choose which modules you want to focus on. So, for example, if you wanted to focus on the job sheet module, invoice module, you can do that. Very much good for online, because they can just be an hour at a time if you like. But also, yeah, you're going to learn new ways to further maximize your team's productivity using Clik Service. But contact your account manager to arrange your training, and they will get back to you with a quote. Okay, if you need to get in touch with us, you can do at hello@kliksoftware.com, and you can phone us on 0117 902 2012. And thank you very much for watching. Great, we've had quite a lot of people today. I think we had over 200 subscribers to this webinar, and about 90 attended, so that's brilliant. So thanks very much, guys, and hopefully that was really useful for you. Thanks very much. Bye.